As a beginner photographer, there are a lot of questions you may have, and I really do feel like there are a lot of mistakes that you can avoid when it comes to doing your shoots and just being out there in the field. So let's go through a few that I truly do believe that you could avoid, or if you have been doing this, you can fix it like right now, and we can go forward with creating some beautiful work. All right, the first thing I really do feel like we make mistakes in when we are beginning is overexposing our photos. Now, I understand that there is an importance to make sure that your photos are bright so that people can see your subject, but not too bright where nobody can see what's going on, or you're losing a lot of the details because of how high your exposure is. And so what I would say is, look at your ISO, make sure you are using a lower ISO, and also make sure your settings are good. That is your aperture, that is your shutter speed, and the third one, which is your ISO. And I really do believe that when you get this right, then you'll know how to expose your images. Because one thing photography really is really playing with light and manipulating light. So if you can really get that down, that is going to really help you out. I would say that when you are doing like post editing for your photos, please don't rely on that too much to lower the brightness, because it can only do too much. And then if you lower it too much, it's going to make it look muddy and kind of like mushy and like muted and grayish. I don't know how to explain it, but if you've done that before, you know what I'm talking about, because I've done it. So yeah, if you can, when you're out there on the field doing your amazing photo shoot, make sure that you assess the light. Are you in natural light? Are you in a studio using artificial light? And just really adjust it accordingly. The next mistake is not paying attention to focus. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to photography, when it comes to especially portraits, you want to make sure that your object or your subject is in focus. So you can use a higher f-stop, which could be like a f1.8, f2.8. You can also, which is one thing that I always suggest, is focus on the eyes. When you're doing a portrait or you're taking a photo of people, more so singular or two people, focus on the eyes. When it's a group, then you have to rely on that aperture and your shutter speed to make sure that everything is in focus. But yeah, that is so important. You want to make sure you have a nice crisp image. Now, here's the thing. You may have a styling look that is kind of out of focus, that's kind of blurry. Maybe that's your artistic touch. And that is awesome. Just make sure it's consistent with all of your photos and all of your photo shoots so that it looks like this is your stamp of style. Also, take advantage of the autofocus feature. I know a lot of photographers say that you're not a real photographer if you're just using autofocus. Well, no, there is an amazing autofocus feature on these cameras nowadays, and they really just get the job done quicker. But you can also do manual focus, where if you know that you have a subject that will be still in the same place, then manually focus it, and you'll just know that every time that you get an image, it'll be crisp and clean. Okay, the next mistake is not bringing more than one memory card on your shoot. Guys, listen. A memory card is your insurance plan. A memory card is where all of your beautiful work is going to be stored until you get home and put it on your computer. Or if you have a camera that has Wi-Fi, you can get it to your computer right then and there. If you are surrounded about Wi-Fi, what did I say? Surrounded in Wi-Fi. Forgive me, y'all. But please bring more than one. If you have 2 to 3, I understand, that's good. I have a whole pack of some just collected over the years, and then just having to renew them yearly. Just please make sure that if you are on a shoot, that if something happens to one, then you can have another one back up. Maybe if it's a long shoot, you can, you know, go in between different memory cards. You can dump it on your external hard drive if you brought your computer, so that you can make sure it's all there and then continue. It's whatever you want to do, but please make sure that you have more than one. I did that very early in my career, and I never felt secure. I never felt like I could just sit down after doing it. Like I had to rush home and make sure that this car is not broken or it's not locked or my photos aren't lost, and it was just a headache. Like it was a headache. Which even when you do have the memory card, you still kind of have that like, oh my God, like I hope they're safe. But when you have more than one, you can feel even more safe. The next mistake is not using the right lens for the job. Now, if you are doing portraits, I suggest a 50mm, an 85mm. But if you're shooting more like of a landscape or something very wide, like maybe an inside of a building for real estate photography or a concert and you want to get the crowd, I would suggest maybe a 24 to 70mm or a 16 to 35. A 35mm is pretty wide, but it does have its cutoff. So use the right lens for the right job, and I really feel like it's going to help you. However, there are a lot of versatile lenses. You can do a 16-35 and a 24-70 for some portraits or some full body, you know, maybe campaign work or editorial lifestyle work, because I definitely use my 24-70mm. It is my go-to lens, which I talk about on this channel for sure, and I love it so much, and it gives some amazing portraits. But it does have a kind of warping effect, so you have to use your zoom. It has a zoom on there, which I use, so use that. But yeah, just know what you're doing, know what you're going out to, you know, create, and I would just say move forward with the right gear. And the last common mistake, most common mistake that I have seen is that you are not practicing enough. Listen guys, I know that life can get in the way, but when it comes to your photography, it is like a muscle. You have got to work it. You have got to put those reps in, and it's really going to reward you because you're going to become more efficient, which means it's going to be way more easier for you to handle. And so I would say schedule out time during your week or your month that you're just going to create just to create. You're going to maybe go outside and get some, you know, trees or some flowers. You're going to ask your cousin or your sister, your brother, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, grandma, auntie, uncle, like you're going to get some work, because I really do feel like just in my journey as a photographer, one of the things that really helped me was that every weekend I was doing photos, and it really paid off, because being able to get used to how heavy my camera was, I'm now used to it and it's not heavy to me. And then when I give it to somebody else, they're like, "Ooh, this is heavy," and it's like, well, it's not to me because I've gotten used to it. And it helps you to get used to your camera settings. A lot of people don't know how to adjust aperture, don't know how to adjust the ISO, and don't know how to adjust the shutter speed. ISO is usually the last thing that you should adjust. Shutter and aperture are the main two, and ISO is kind of like that sprinkle on top as far as for the brightness and exposure. So that's the last thing that you should touch, but you won't know that until you get out there in the field. And this is no pressure to you, because I know life can be lifing, but just schedule out time when you can and whatever is within your capacity and get it done. You know, I think when I think about people that go back to school, like for masters, some people get it done in 5 years, some people get it done in 2 years, but you're still getting it done. But just be okay with your pace. But you gotta practice. You have got to put in those hours. You have got to put in that time. So get out there and get shooting. So yeah, when it comes to photography, it is a beautiful craft, and I feel like it's going nowhere. People are going to need photos for everything. We give the world character, we give people memories, we are a part of writing history when we have proof of where we've been. Like, there's so much greatness in photography, and I always talk about that on this channel. So it's going nowhere. So make sure that you do your best to make it the best for other people. Make sure that you put your time in, and if these mistakes that I have made, like some of these I've definitely have made, can help you to not make them, then this video is all worth it. So take this video and really think about the things that you are doing, or what you can even, you know, get better in. If you haven't made these mistakes, then kudos to you, but if you have, it's okay. It is okay. Just know that you can go forward with new information so that you can be jogged and energized for the job at hand.